Oh, wow. I'm all fuzzy. I don't know why. Well, hold on. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry about that. I dumped William somehow. Good evening. Welcome to Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News, and this is a World War III report with me, Ellie, and William is on the phone. I just got to put him back in. That's all. I don't know why that happens, but every so often I get that blurred vision. So, good evening, William. Boy, we got a lot tonight.
As long as I don't push a button, we'll be okay.
Yeah, no buttons and no pushing X's, folks. All right. The Democrats with the climate change and ecologists and green activists, they have been changing the cars and everything, making everything electric. The only problem is planes. And the problem with the planes is how to reduce emissions or get people to fly less. Well, they said what they're going to do is they're going to punish travelers with huge taxes if you want to fly. They're talking maybe even tripling your plane flight cost. And William, I couldn't. I don't even think I could even afford to go to Texas. But that's what they're planning.
I think there's, those folks that have those private jets, they ought to really be, taken to task, right?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, boy. Yeah. And real quick, we talked about this on the last show about Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu private residence was hit. It was hit, and it basically hit his bedroom window. I had someone sent me an email and asked whereabouts in the house. Did it explode or anybody hurt? Well, nobody was hurt, and it was kind of like a dud, and he wasn't there. So, but it was his bedroom. They did admit it today, and he's okay. William, you remember we were talking about Turkey. So, I went looking to see what's up in Turkey, and there was an attack targeting a Turkish defense company yesterday, I believe. They set off explosives and opened fire in an attack Wednesday by a Turkish state-run aerospace defense company, killing 4 people. At least 2 of the attackers died. They had 4 martyrs and they had 14 wounded. It's not clear who may be behind it, maybe Kurdish militants. The Islamic State group and leftist extremists have carried out attacks in the country in the past. So this was this really is very concerning to them because it was a aerospace defense company. And they say it was to steal secrets. And if these are militants, we got these all over the world, these militants and these Islamic extremists, even in our own country. And they're taking some of this, what they do with it, they sell it, William.
Yeah, they don't even have to be Islamic. they're just militants
Yeah,
everywhere.
like they said, it could have been Turkish militants. It could have been the Islamic. It could have
Yeah,
been leftist extremists.
that's right. We don't know, but in that region of the world, likelihood is.
Okay, now this is this one here. You know, this is really suspicious because of the inspectors in March started observing a restaurant that, and this is in Germany, where if you order a number 40, William, guess what you get? It's
Corn
in a
dog?
pizza restaurant.
You get what?
Yeah. Okay, and it's very popular, the number 40. And that's all they say you have to say. Well, what you get is you get your pizza and a side order of cocaine.
Oh, happiness and a full stomach.
It's definitely not going to make them want to eat more.
No, that's the
Drink more,
wrong stuff.
maybe. Drink more beer. Well, they found out that when the police found out about it, they were tipped off by suspicious food inspectors. And when drug squad officers began observing the restaurant, they soon discovered why the pizza number 40 was so popular. When the
So,
police.
so it's pizza and a side order of jitters.
You get a side order of cocaine.
Okay.
I was waiting for them to try this over there in Europe, and even in the UK, because they keep declassifying the drugs there. And the police said that the restaurant manager, when they went to the apartment, a 36-year-old threw a bag of drugs out the window, which fell into the arms of the police officers. It included 4 pounds of cocaine, um, 14 ounces of cannabis, and 290,000 in cash, right into the arms of the cops. This should have been on my first show. This would have been interesting to hear. So they came across. He was connected to a cannabis plantation. Um, he tried to flee, but they said they caught him. And so now there may not be number 40 on that menu.
Guy sounds like he was a candidate for the Darwin Awards. Self-extincting.
Throw it out the window and it lands in the arms of the cops. Well, at least they didn't have to search and tear things up to find it. So, yeah. Cannabis, yeah. Cannabis and a whole bunch of cocaine. I wonder if he had a pot pizza, like they have that food over there in Amsterdam. Where they serve.
Oregano, they call that.
Yeah, just a little oregano on your pizza. Okay,
Yeah.
Middle East latest sirens across Tel Aviv as projectiles are intercepted. Well, what it was near Blinken's hotel. And Blinken said that it was bound to happen, but thank goodness for the Iron Dome, and it was intercepted. And they said it could be seen in the sky above the hotel where Blinken was staying. Um, let me show you guys this. Okay, let me put this bigger so you guys can see it. There you go. So you could see the projectiles, and that was seen by his hotel. And they said there was a puff of smoke. They seen the smoke, and he was okay. They said they were pretty much dug in, and he's pledged to Netanyahu is pledged to annihilate Hamas. Now, William, let me see, Blinken. Why you wonder? Okay, why is Blinken there in Tel Aviv? Well, he's on the 9th Middle East trip since the Gaza war began. He seeks ceasefire momentum. Now, William, you know a little bit on that about him wanting to ceasefire.
So, because Sinwar was dispatched by a tank ground, the administration believed that this could be a change in the Israeli-Palestinian dialogue, because obviously the Palestinians no longer want to fight, and Hezbollah is not sending any more rockets, and Israel's not going to defend itself, which is, a farce. Of course they're going to do what they do. They've been doing it for 3,000 years.
Yeah. What concerns me, besides Israel, is one of the big things I've been looking into and really reading as much as I can is this BRICS meeting. It's becoming more and more different countries are starting to join them. The main part of this was about financial cooperation. They want to make sure they got the funding from all the different countries. With Jinping being the top dog on this, and he wanted to express that the agenda, including deepening financial cooperation, including the development of alternatives to Western-dominated payment systems, as well as setting regional conflicts and moving to expand the BRICS groups. And he did welcome quite a bit. And he was very proud, he said, that it included Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, and the United Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Malaysia. And now, since they're having this big BRICS movement or meeting, they've now seen that there is money that's pouring into BRICS. So several other countries have mentioned interest in going ahead and joining BRICS. So, but they didn't say who, William.
Yeah, and they're not completely disengaging from the U.S. dollar. We need to say that in the beginning. What they're doing is they're hedging their bets. Another thing that's going on is
well, what they the big thing you just mentioned, because it says it's not us who refuse to use the American dollar, he said, but if they don't let us work, what can we do? We're forced to search for alternatives.
Yeah, that's their argument.
Yeah, that's their argument.
Jinping sees this as an opportunity to tax the world.
And even Putin said the U.S., he accuses the U.S. of weaponizing the dollar and describing it as a big mistake.
Yeah, they hate the Constitution of the United States. That's not a surprise. But if they create a financial institution, and the largest contributor to that financial institution is China, then China has basic control over the BRICS federal system, if you will. And they'll tax all these other countries here in the future, but these little countries don't see it yet because they're angry over having the United States, defend the world oceans.
Well, not only that, but a lot of these countries got burned with the Belt and Road Initiative.
That's not they don't care. They're not as angry at China as they are the United States, because the United States has been so, successful in tamping down global strife in the past. Now, right now, it's not so much the case, but historically. And they want an alternative. But I think their alternative is creating a monster.
Yeah. Well, and the big thing, the big push with this BRICS meeting was that they invited Indians, Modi, and he's even considering, and that's India.
Well, Modi's a extreme leftist socialist. That's not really, the average person in India isn't that way. But he's made it to the top, like so many bad leaders do. And of course, he's going to court the enemy of the Indian people, which is shameful, if you ask me.
See, I think the whole thing with Modi is we have been trying to work with India quite a bit, and him. They had meetings with Modi. Biden did a long time ago, though. But I think it's going to be a threat, because if more countries want to join him, William, then it's going to be, us. It's going to be NATO. It's going to be BRIC. It's going to be half the world against half the world. But we're just all.
I'm concerned that a bunch of these industrialists that are blind and don't have long-term vision here in the United States are going to tie themselves to that through.
Because they're talking Yemen and Oman, want to. They're the next ones to join. And then even the part of Africa, from what I found out from a friend of mine, that they are, as part of BRICS, is where the Boko Haram is, another terrorist organization.
Islam is very favorable to BRICS because it's almost entirely made up of former OPEC nations. So the 10.
And William, to get into this Taiwan with China, you could almost see who's going to start responding and who they can use. Because if they use NATO for Ukraine, they're going to use BRICS for Taiwan.
Without a doubt.
And that's a big world war. That's big. I think, we think Israel is, the big pop with Iran, but you're talking Iran is part of BRICS. And if they can't start a war over there in Israel and get it going, when they go after Taiwan, because they are, China's ready. In fact, remember the live fires for 5 days, William? They just now re-upped another 5 days on another island. Boy.
This is operate
New Sean Island.
Yeah.
Here, I want to show everybody where this is at.
The United States have islands that they use for live fire drills as well, so we should put that out. And China has uninhabited spaces they use for live fire drills as well. Yeah,
and so they were doing. I don't think they have the little islands listed on here. They got a few of them, but this here is real close to Bhutan and Fuzhou. And Taipei isn't, but just across the bay, basically, where they're doing these live fires. It was, they did the islands, and that was down south, but now they're working on doing live fires up around the north. And that's, William, the thing about it is right there where the strait is. I don't know if you can see it. Um, it's right where that shipping flow goes through. So,
Oh
okay.
yeah. Yeah. You have to keep in mind half the shipping in the world goes through China and Taiwan through their ports. There's so many container ships in that area. If you look at the transportation safety websites, they'll show all the ships parked waiting to go into ports, and it looks like all the stars of heaven sitting out there in the ocean, anchored, waiting for their turn to come in. There's so many ships in those areas; it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Guess who's riled up again? My favorite man. Um, uh, Kim Jong-un is back in the news again, William. But this time he is accusing the United States of being a nuclear threat. Uh-oh. Oh, I don't know.
So, if North Korea has nuclear weapons and they're not part of a treaty organization with the United States, he's just stating the obvious.
Well, what it is he visited his missile bases to examine the readiness because of strategic defense, he says. And he says U.S. nuclear capabilities are a growing threat to his country and to his people. And the U.S. strategic nuclear arsenal poses an ever-increasing threat to the North security and environment and to the people of North Korea.
So, to put that in perspective, it's not the people of North Korea that are being threatened. It is simply the leadership. They're the one in control of the nukes. Just saying.
Yeah, and he says that's why he is stepping up, and basically with the tensions with South Korea and its allies, he said he had to include himself because of the concerns over what Seoul and North Korean troops to Russia to fight Ukraine, a claim that has been denied, but he says now it is pretty much out in the open. And his security advisor, Shin Wok-sik, what a name, the head of the Polish National Security Bureau, expressed concern over the military cooperation with Moscow during a meeting in Seoul. So Kim Jong-un is basically, what he said towards the end of the article was, since we have stepped up in helping the Russians with this war, that now it puts the North Korea under threat with nuclear threat from the United States. So I think he's becoming a big boy.
We don't need to use nuclear to pummel Pyongyang, by the way. If we wanted to, we could, but we haven't. Not in 50 years, even though there's a war still on between North and South Korea and our NATO partners. Now, I think the Rocket Man now wants to be called Grenade Boy. I think that's what's going on.
I don't know. I don't know. I think he's pulled his big boy pants on. I think maybe his sister had a good talk with him, because since he has now got in with, I'm going to say it's BRICS. It's BRIC. Once he got in there and he's got his own bigger army, that if even North Korea gets fired upon, that BRIC might jump in and he'll have other countries come in and help him out. He could possibly win against South Korea even. That's the way it sounds like to me.
North Korea is always cash strapped because they don't have an economy. have an agrarian society with a super military, if you will. So any opportunity to find a handout, they're going to, socialism doesn't really work unless there's a capitalist.
No.
Or communism doesn't really work unless there's capitalists nearby to feed them. Just saying.
Yeah. And just a spot, I don't like talking the politics, but Montana Democrat operative was caught on video tampering with a ballot drop box. It was a video was obtained, and other videos from around where this box was, and it showed an individual who tries moving a small ballot drop box that is mounted on a pillar before stepping back and taking a picture of the box and returning and trying to move it again. He was not able to remove the ballot box from the wall. And what it was in a district of the town that had mostly Republicans. So he was going around and supposedly stealing ballot boxes in red in the red districts.
Well, so he's stealing them, but not only is he doing it in the red districts, but he's taking the express will of the United States citizens on choosing their leader away.
And they say this is the 10th person they've caught in the United States so far. Other states have caught. But this was a big one because he was able to remove a lot of the boxes. And so they said they were able to recover most of the boxes, but I don't care. Democrat, Republicans, you guys don't mess with the votes. Just don't mess with the votes.
You're taking the will of the people away.
Yeah.
That's a form of sedition.
And not this last, because we're going to talk about Trump here in a second. Not in this last town hall meeting, but the one before that with Kamala Harris. I was shocked because Dan Bongino showed this, that she thinks our youth in between the ages of 18 and 24 are stupid.
I'm wondering if she's getting a flashback to a time when she was 18 to 24.
And I mean, there's always those little stories she tells. I like the one, I came from a middle class home. No, she didn't. Okay, and then she wants to blast Trump that he's in a Hitler phase for Hitler praise. When are they going to get away from this white supremacist stuff that happened with Trump down in Mississippi? That's the first thing I thought of, William, when you were telling me about it.
So every time they use words like that, they're calling for lone wolves in the United States to solve the problem, by the way. It's evil. We shouldn't be demonizing each other's, each other parties, candidates like that. I mean, you could call them, not particularly bright. That's one thing, but that's like yelling fire in a crowded theater. Somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah, and they throw mud back and forth. I mean, I could see it, but she even called them a fascist. And the other thing was, she said that religion and religious freedom Christians worries her, and that they could be a threat to this country. Christians.
Just like they've always been, right? 250 years, the United States has survived Christendom all
Yeah.
on our own. I don't think so.
It just, we did the lock her up thing, on the last, when Trump was running with Hillary. And, I thought that was kind of mean, but, all the crimes that they did here, Bill and Hillary, the crimes that they walked away from. I mean, it doesn't even get into what they did to senior citizens with Whitewater. Or, and all of this stuff, this dirty laundry that people have, even Trump's got dirty laundry. He likes women, but he's not groping them. That's what, one thing I got to say, William, is, they really get on Biden about sniffing young girls and groping them. And then Trump is way worse because he's a womanizer, they say. But you never seen him sniff and grope.
So our political candidates are not running for saint.
No.
They're running to be not only the president of the people of the United States, but the head of the free world.
Yeah. And it's funny how they supported a lot of people. Just don't, you got to go back in history and remember what they promised or they said, because they're all for socialism. They wanted to change this country into a socialist country, and now they have to say, oh no, it's social programs. The other thing was, they were expressing that they were fascist, and now it's like, no, we're not. That Trump is. They're the fascist. Just look up what they do.
At the top of their lungs, but the fact is, the American people in general are pretty tolerant. We're pretty middle of the road. This is what happens when you have an inflection point in history where the United States is going through a cycle of realigning itself in a different direction, self-correction, if you will. It's what you want in a country. If you want a stable dollar, if you want a stable financial system, you want a political system that can self-correct if it gets too far one way. And so you've got one group that want to maintain the direction that's been going in the last, 50 years, and you have a group that's saying, no, we need to self-correct. And so this is an inflection point in history. So everybody is throwing every spitball they have at the wall, trying to see what sticks.
Yeah, and then you were even saying that the Starmer, Prime Minister of England, was, I guess Trump asked him to be part of, for his support.
Oh, no.
No? Okay. You better say it then. I got it wrong.
What I understand was Keir Starmer, the acting Prime Minister of England, is coming over to be a campaign advisor for Kamala Harris because her campaign is not going in the right direction. And at what point does that become foreign
interference
in our elections? Well, right now, it's something we shouldn't be seeing, and it also says something about world politics, the Green New Deal, the whole climate cartel tax, climate tax thing. It's what that's all about. Is we
Right.
We get the proceeds.
They got
bleed all the dry on 3 different continents.
Not to, I mean, William, this administration is now putting lines up of CO2. Big lines, big pipelines of CO2. Did you know that? Did you hear about that one?
They believe they can sequester it underground, but the thing is
it's blowing up in neighborhoods. I mean,
well,
why do we need CO2?
Fuel is a hydrocarbon. Human life, all life on the planet, were carbon-based life forms. If we want to grow crops, we need carbon in the atmosphere. If we want there to be coral reefs that are made out of calcium carbonate, there needs to be carbon in the atmosphere. They're nuts.
So, and that was something Trump, I think it was Trump's daughter-in-law. She's the one that was exposed this and said that's one of the biggest things they're going to stop, because she said they have poured millions into this and for, under climate change.
It's a tax the rich scheme, tax the poor, tax everyone, so that everyone will have nothing and be happy for it.
That's
I got
it.
news. Nobody's going to be happy.
Socialism. Even the medical system, William, with my healthcare being really bad right now. And I told the nurse today, I said, she told me they couldn't get me until January. And I was like, I don't know if I could go till January. And I said, what this reminds me of is Canada. All the people up in Canada used to come down here because they could see a doctor, or there was machines, or that certain services we had here that they couldn't get for a year up there. And that's what's happening right now. And during the pandemic, all those doctors and nurses, everybody just fled. And, so now we're going through this thing where you got to wait for a specialist in sometimes surgeries for 6-8 months here. That's socialism.
Like rationing went on in the Soviet Union. It's just medical rationing.
It's part of socialism. Everybody else is, went through the same thing.
If they could get right in, you wouldn't be slow like the third world, and you would be equal like the third world, and you would be ready. If they're not, you won't be ready for the new world ruler. So they have to bring the United States down, including our medical system, financial system, food production, education. If you can think of it, you have to reduce it. So you're not a standout country. And unfortunately for us here in the United States, we're the most standout country on earth.
We're pretty much one of the best that are left. It's war everywhere, to where all these countries are just into rubble anymore.
Even in our reduced state right now, we're still a beacon to the rest of the world.
And speaking of these the pandemic and these flus and these other diseases that come through. Now, before the show, me and William was talking about all the labs that create this stuff. Now, even think about AIDS, okay? AIDS was created, and get this, Bill Clinton, when he was the senator here in Arkansas, he deliberately gave a prison here AIDS. Everybody, all the men in there, AIDS, and they were supposed to be a volunteer thing, but he did it to a big lot of them, and they were making the cure for AIDS, and he wanted to test it on them, but he gave them AIDS. And so, William, you were talking. Well, what was it you were saying? These different by diseases come from?
So
I
the
mean, there's
United States
Wuhan and there's a
has,
bunch of them.
yeah, the United States has a responsibility to prepare its military for biological warfare. Okay, that's stating one thing. It doesn't mean you release it, okay, on the civilian population.
Test it.
Right. This is stuff that's supposed to be in a freezer someplace for a case of, oh my God, do we have an antidote? Right?
Yeah.
It's being completely misused. And that never happened with the U.S. government. I'm just saying. Okay, so there's this vaccine out here in the world. It turns out was created, the beginning precursors of it were in Oxford. There were foundations that had DNA parts of the vaccine, you know, the part that fights the antidote by certain foundations and governmental private partnerships. And then there's this vaccine that went through those folks, ended up in France, made its way to Wuhan, and ended up on our doorstep. Well, in the Netherlands, there's a lawsuit that's starting to happen, and it's against a vaccine. The parts of the vaccine they believe were misused, and they're bringing a case right now against a Mr. William Gates of Seattle. So there's that, right?
The Gates Foundation, or him personally?
Well, the head of the foundation. I would expect Melinda as well, but yeah.
Yeah.
Now, whether it's completely true or not, that's for a court of law. That's not for us. But this lawsuit is being brought forward. It'll be interesting to see what the outcome is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a great idea to patent DNA strands that can be used in a possible, misuse with a possible, virus or vaccine. Might not be a great idea to have that personally held.
Yeah. I talked to a veteran that boy, this is really weird. He moved here, but he used to live, he said, in Montana. And he said Montana, Utah, Wyoming. It's the Patriot militants is what I'm going to be talking about. They are now getting a hold of FBI and those higher and those in the police force. They have got these young guys are saying they are federal agents, but they were paid protesters to create havoc in some of the riots or the protests they're having. Well, what he was offering them was grenades and grenade launchers and illegal guns, the AK-47s. And so these guys were like strung these. These groups have been stringing them out, and seeing how far they'll go up to the point of where they say no on the deal, because they know these aren't federal agents. These are punks. They said they're about 25 years old. Some of them maybe 30, and they dress in fatigues. They look like soldiers. Boy, I'm going to cough again. So when the FBI looked into them, they did arrest a few of them. But these, what they finally admitted to is they're paid protesters through some of these foundations that's supported by George Soros. And they wouldn't say that these foundations are that he's a paid protester. He gets $1,000 plus a rental car and a hotel to go to these protests and riots to start trouble. We're talking Molotov cocktails, the ones that deliver the bricks on the street. I mean, he fessed up to a bunch of it. But he's not the only one. All these other states are getting solicited by these young they say federal agents, trying to get them to take this stuff. And they say it's getting worse closer to the election. And he really does think that this is a Democrat way to take the patriot militants out that we have. They're not ones that start trouble. They're not the white supremacy. That's not what these guys are. So, but I thought it was interesting and a little bit of info that I found. And then we got Ukraine, where soldiers have deserted. William told me about this. William, there's 30,000, maybe more. That was just in 2022. They say it's doubled right now. And I think you had something to say on that.
So the deserters are clogging up the courts. Many of them have decided it's not even worth surrendering to the Russians because they'll be traded back to Ukraine and end up back in the front and likely to die. So the worst that can happen to them is a 12-year sentence in Ukrainian jail. And the deserters are saying, yeah, but we'll be alive, unlike the 700,000 of our countrymen that are, most of the generation, maybe two generations, that are dead. So, yeah, there's that going on. You're right, Ellie.
Yeah. They say that it's between 5 and 12 years in prison. They said at least 30% are only getting the 5-year sentence, but it's clogged up the courts. And now I think they're just handing out, it don't matter. I think they're just going to pick a number and get them through.
Yeah, they'll try them in groups to uncollect.
They had 45,000 deserters between January and August this year, according to the prosecutor general's office that had leaked to the Ukrainian press.
Ellie, if you were aware your country had absolutely no hope of winning a contest with a large nuclear power next door, would you be inclined to go out and spill your blood for a war that can't be won?
Yeah, because we've had the show way before the beginning of the Ukraine war, but they have been grappling with this for a long time. There's been insufficient manpower since the start of the war, pretty much. And they say physical fatigue, but not only that, it's like you said, they worry about their own life and the families they had to were forced to walk away from. And folks, Zelensky's not, he's a communist, folks.
If you're drafted in this war, it's not for 2 years like Vietnam. It's until the cessation of hostilities. You either fight or die or desert.
Yeah. I think he forced a lot of them in. If you were between the certain ages, you had to go.
We had a lot of deserters in Vietnam.
Yeah.
That had the same arguments. Went to Canada.
Oh, what was his name? Oliver North. Is he the one that he did some stuff?
No,
with
he worked for the CIA. He was
didn't
all of
he
it.
flake out or do something?
No, he was a true believer Marine. Don't. Yeah,
Okay,
he was.
Oliver North. Well, I know he did some bad things here. There was
Oh yeah, he.
we got yeah. What he did here with the Clintons with the cocaine. Oh, he's a man I don't really trust. Was it John Kerry then? Who was it that did something that they had to come back and was it he lied about prisoners of war? It was either
So
North or
John Kerry was a war protester after he was a swift boat captain, and he went to a protest in Washington D.C. and threw his Purple Heart away because of his anger about the war.
maybe
So
that was well.
that's
I don't.
the
I have to
story of
find it.
Kerry.
But and these are the people, and when we look at this
Keep in mind, John Kerry had a college degree, so he got to be an officer.
it's like Cheney and McCain too. They're just warmongers.
Well, McCain's father was a general, and that was kind of his way forward. I don't.
Because there are top generals that are speaking out. That's saying that because Cheney and McCain are kind of supporting Harris, but they're saying they're warmongers. They would love to jump on board with this to push the wars.
Not McCain. It's Cheney.
It's Cheney.
Cheney stuff.
Yeah, Cheney.
Yeah. And she's angry at the people.
Oh, they're all. Oh man, have you seen how angry these guys are? Even the media, they're like, and you're like, wow, how come they're so? How come everybody's so angry? And Camilla's yelling, and Obama was yelling at his rally, and Bernie Sanders always yells. But everybody's angry. All them Democrats are angry.
They sound like folks that are, screaming, "Get off my lawn!" And their lawn happens to be, communism. That's my opinion.
And this we talked, kind of about North Korea and China and Taiwan and folks with Hamas. Me and William was talking about this because we've got these like ISIS, we got Hamas and Hezbollah and Houthi, and Netanyahu has a really good plan. And William was saying, we're not going to get rid of these guys. They're not going to get rid of these terrorist groups.
So, in every country in the world, there are folks that want to have a one world government. Of course, though, they're going to be the leadership. All right, they're going to be the leadership. So there's a group in Israel that feels that way. There's the group in Europe that feels that way. There's the group in Asia that feels that way, and even the subcontinent, in Africa, South America, there's always going to be folks like that. Now, we have people in the press right now, they're equating all the rest of us, the average person in the world that just wants to go to work and have a safe place to live, right? They're not interested in invading their neighbors or expanding the program, whatever. They just want to have a job, be able to make a living and, better their family, right? And there's those in the press that are trying to equate all the rest of us in with these one world groups of whatever flavor you want to call it. And we have to not let ourselves get sucked into that. And the dialogue is that all the average people, say, of Israel, they want to, control the entire Levant, and they want to control all of Arabia, and they want, you know, all of what was Babylonia, and of course, you know, Egypt as well. Well, yeah, there's a few folks like that in every government, but nobody in Israel, the average person, especially the people who would have to fight for it, want that. So when you hear that argument being that that's why they're attacking the Palestinians and they're doing terrible things to Palestinians, keep in mind there's always going to be bad actors in those countries, but it's not the average person. So when you hear arguments, you have to separate out who are these people within their societies, and what are their goal compared to the average person in the society, and then base your judgments on that. But there's some folks that just can't see the other folks that are just average in any society.
Yeah. So, okay, William, that's it for tonight. We'll be back. I think I'm gonna turn William loose on Friday with some, and then I'm gonna do some trivia, but we'll figure it out. But we'll be back on Friday, and I thank William for the and of people watching. We thank you very much for watching and sharing the show. This was a good show tonight. We had a lot of information in it, and stuff that you're not hearing on the news. It's so crowded with politics. William, I don't know. I'm getting tired of the ads, and no matter what you watch on the news, it's just straight politics. You know, we need to hear what's going on in the world.
The good news is it's just 14 more days.
Yeah, thank goodness. So
not 6 months or a year. We're in the final stretch of this thing. Anything can happen at any time. Keep in mind.
Yeah, that's right. But they say the good news is it looks like Trump has taken the swing states.
Well.
And everybody asked, am I going to be here on election night? Yes, but William will be with me on election night. I won't be by myself.
Remember the big red wave of the last
Senate?
Yeah.
I don't like the polls.
I don't think we're going to know for sure until it happens. But if they bring out this whole red wave thing, a bunch of people aren't going to bother to vote. Do not let that happen.
Yes.
Make your voice counted. It's what makes you different than all the other countries in the world.
Yeah. So, okay, everyone, please subscribe and share and hit the like button. Ring that bell. Be sure to subscribe. And over there in Facebook, hit the follow, and you can keep track of when we come on live. And we're still running rough on times. But sooner or later, we'll have us all back running normal again. So, all right, everyone, have a wonderful Wednesday. Yeah, halfway to payday. It's not hump day, it's halfway to payday for those that get paid on Friday. We thank you for watching. And William, I thank you very, very much.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity, Ellie, and the people for, having a listen to our opinions and the news.
Okay, everyone, have a nice night.